Hey, how's it going, guys? This is Tom from UDS with another edition of UDS Interviews, our series where we chat to interesting people from around the world. And my guest this week is one of the most exciting bands on the scene at the moment, combining sweet riffs with lyrics that can hit you right in the feels just as much as they can get you pumped up enough to run through a wall. They also happen to be the most destructive force to come out of the Southwest since Mary Berry, and I don't say that lightly. Here today to talk all about their upcoming EP, it is my pleasure to introduce Kira from the band of the hour, Too Sweet to Be Sour, Aniimalia. I was a bit worried there. I was a bit touch and go, but we got it out there. Kira, how's it going?
It's good. Thank you for the amazing explanation. We always struggle with describing ourselves. I think I'll just copy and paste that from now on.
There you go. You come for the interview, you get a free press release. You know, it's all part of the package. But yeah, as I say, you know, it's a pleasure to have you on the show today. We're going to talk about music in just a sec, but before we do that, I need to get to know the real you, because we're all friends here, and the one way I like to do that is by asking the hard-hitting questions right out of the game. And that is, get ready, if you could be a type of sandwich, what type of sandwich would you say best defines you as a person?
Ooh, that is such an interesting question. I would want to say that I'm not an over the top, like, out there person. I like to think I'm a little bit easy to speak to, so maybe like a classic ham and cheese sandwich, something that hopefully everyone likes.
Hell yeah.
Or something that I want everyone to like.
I mean, it's nothing wrong with being a staple. You know, there's a reason that the ham and cheese has been popular for so long, and yeah, it's a solid choice. It's a solid choice. Would you say, you know, is there a type of ham and cheese? I think we're just going beyond the sort of, you know, the Rorschach test to just like what are our favorite sandwiches. What would be in your ideal ham and cheese sandwich? What sort of cheese? What kind of ham are we talking about?
Probably like just typical. I'm really boring. If my bandmates were here, they would have some really wild out there like ideas and theories. But for me, it's just like cheddar cheese, thick ham, white bread, boring, but absolute classic. You can never go wrong with it.
You can never go wrong. That is, you know, that is a Hall of Fame sandwich right there. So
or turn it into a toasty. That's the
absolutely,
other option.
absolutely. Yeah, you know, there's little things like that can just elevate the humble sandwich to new levels. And speaking of elevating things to new levels, I think that was a segue. We are here to talk all about your amazing new EP, Carousel, which is out in just a few short days. I think dropping the 4th of April.
Yeah, not long at all.
By the time this video's gone out, it may even be out there. But for the people, regardless of what time this goes out, that either haven't been able to listen to it yet or have been unfortunate enough not to, you know, be able to check it out yet, what can people expect from this release?
So we've been a band for a couple of years now, and we have already had one release, one EP. But that EP was very much just kind of putting out things that we love to play. We're a very young band. We really just wanted to get ourselves out there. And this EP, we've tried to streamline things a little bit more. So we've tried to, while still being a bit experimental, we have decided to focus in a bit more on ourselves as artists and try and keep to a bit more of a theme, but also play around with like what genre we are. Because that's a question we got a lot, is what are you guys like? What do you guys compare to? And for us, we never know how to describe that because we take our influences from everywhere. So our single Puppeteer that has come out to promote this EP is something we've never done before. It's a very like sludgy, like heavy, but slightly, I don't want to say slower, but it is slightly slower. It's more aggressive, but in a different type of way than what we're used to. Whereas the EP kind of has a few different songs that capture that energy, but it explores a bit more of what we can do than what we've done before, I think. So it's been really fun for us. Obviously, we're a developing band. We're still in the very start of our career. So it's really, really exciting to kind of delve into like synths and these really aggressive, hopefully slightly more relatable tunes.
Hell yeah. I mean, I've been lucky enough to get a sneak preview. And from that first moment on the first track on Who's Gonna Stop Me, it is just like, you know, full throttle, you know. I cannot wait to see, the live reactions to some of these tracks, because even like, you saying about sort of that slower, sludgier feel, like you got tracks like Doom, which I was almost, maybe it's just because of the title, it got it in my head. I was like, this is bordering on like influences from like doom metal and things like that, where, there is that real sort of, get the head banging vibe to it.
Yeah, as I said, we take influences from everywhere. So we're always asked to kind of say our key influences. And we do have a couple that all the band members cross over with. So a lot of the modern rock, people like Yonica, and Beartooth, all those sorts of bands we've taken influence from. But we are individuals at the end of the day. And the most exciting thing about being in a band for me personally, and the guys will agree, is that you go into a room and you unintentionally take about 4 different genres, artists, songs, influences, and smush them into one to the point it's unrecognizable. And that is something that we definitely did with this EP. As you said, like some of the songs, you can't pinpoint the exact genre. You just know where some of the influence came from. And at the end, we just stand back and look at it and go, you know what? We don't know how to describe this, but it feels authentic to us and it feels cool. So that's what we've decided to go with. And yeah, there are a couple of different types of tracks on the EP, I say. It's a bit more versatile.
Hell yeah! I mean, you've got to be a fan of your own music before you put it out. So if you're listening to your stuff and you think, this is what a little bit of everything that we're a part of, and then you put it out there, then it's going to be a winner. And I believe this is the second time. Oh, there goes my light. I did warn off camera that my my setup is very precarious today. But we're going to make it work. But as I was saying, this is the second time that you've worked with the legendary producer Ramesh Dodengoda. I'm so bad at names. I hope I've got that right. How was it jumping into the studio with him again?
It was great. So he more did the mastering afterwards. So we've met him face to face before, which was amazing. As you said, you can tell this guy knows his stuff. He works really efficiently, and we picked up so many good tips because we like to be really involved in the recording, and whatever we can do, we will do. So it's great to have a professional there who you can really take the influence from, and you can hear where he's picked up things along the way and things from other artists that he can use for us, which is we really, really appreciate. We were so lucky to get in the first time. So when we were told the second time, we were like, well, don't we have like 2 times the luck? So he really took our songs once we've recorded and did the mastering, and honestly, coming back, we got the same feeling as before. Like every time we get our music back, we just like, there might be a few things to change, like a few little tips, but most of the time we just take a step back and we go, yeah, that really made the songs feel like full, and you can really tell who's done that, if you know what I mean. So yeah, we're incredibly lucky to work with him and even meet him the first time around. So we really, really appreciate everything we've learned from him.
That's really interesting, actually, because I often, when I ask people, I wonder, how does it feel when, you've worked on something for a long time, and then where do you sort of define this is done? Because if with anything creative, I feel it as well, that, you work on something for such a long time that it's hard to sort of, think, okay, cool, I can put a draw line under that and done. I want to tinker, I want to do little bits and bobs and everything like that. So is it helpful to have that person who just does those final touches that's sort of away from the writing and the recording, to really sort of, put that cherry on top, as it were?
Absolutely, yeah. So again, we're 4 people in a band. We from the start were quite DIY. We did as much as we could. We kind of took contacts where we could, and then obviously we landed in with Marshall, which was amazing. So we do really need that outside input sometimes, because even though we're 4 very different people, we'll have like disagreements on stuff. We will look at something and think it's done when actually there's things we could add. So we got to a point in the studio where we'd done demos, of course, before, and we like to flesh out our demos as much as we can with the time constraints. And then we go into the studio and we looked at it and we went, you know what, these songs are sounding heavy, they're sounding good, vocals sound good, guitars sound good, drums are thrashing in there. At some point, again, you have to step back and go, this sounds good, this has progressed from what we last did, and this is what we wanted to come out of this. When you send it away to be mastered, or when you have the engineers in the room, like we work really well with the engineers at Marshall, Adam and Ollie, we love them. There'll be the occasional thing that they'll just say, what about this? Or we got like some messages from Ramesh saying, can you just do this or add this to it? And it's really, really good to know that we do have people looking out for us and giving us advice to progress further in the industry, because we are still so new to it, and we're always willing to take other people's advice no matter who they are, like whether it's friends and family saying, oh, this thing could be changed, like I like this thing better that you did in this song, or a proper full-on professional who is, you know, giving their time and their energy to us. Honestly, anyone giving us advice is something we're going to take on, no matter how it's worded or how heartbreaking it might be to hear that your intro to a song is too long. We'll just take on whatever we can.
There is nothing worse than having to, I think the phrase is kill your darlings, where, you know, whatever you're writing, you have to take it. You're like, I love it so much. But they're like, no, you've got to look at the whole picture. But yeah, I mean, that is the thing. You surround yourself with like-minded or, you know, creative people, and you're always going to get some really cool insights into things. So that's really cool to hear. But one thing which, you know, it definitely shines through with this EP is not just sort of the lyrics, but the music and everything. There's an element of, you know, catharsis in it. So was it a cathartic process writing this stuff? Was it a sense of getting emotions and getting these feelings out on pen and paper into music and everything like that? How was it for you as one of the writers?
Yeah, so we have several ways of writing, but one way we like to write is, you know, start with a little piece of the music just to give us a feel for the song. And then the way I like to write as a lyricist, which I thought was really weird, and then I found out that actually a lot of people do it, is just get down whatever comes to your head, even if it doesn't quite make sense at first, because when you read it back, you realize that subconsciously you were making some sort of sense. And then it turns out to be a really unique way of writing. So we always start with one song. We started, I think, I'm trying to remember which song was the first one that came out now. Puppeteer was one of the earliest ones. And as soon as I put the lyrics on paper, I was like, anger's coming out of this, which seems to be a theme. I don't know where that came. I'm not a particularly angry person, but I think when you're taking experiences from life in general, that's pretty high emotion. So we always start with a bit of music, get the lyrics down, and once you've got the initial few lines, you kind of have a feeling of where the song's going to go, in my opinion. And these 4 songs, the way they got grouped together quite easily is they did turn out to be like quite angry or quite confident, or these really strong, almost negative emotions. But it was really good to like put them all together as see pieces of a puzzle that almost matched certain emotions and feelings. So it's very interesting. Obviously we take our time with it and we make sure that everything's right, and 4 of us who don't live anywhere near each other, we make sure that we get all the right pieces to go to the studio and go, yes, this song is exactly how it's meant to be. But it definitely turned into a bit of an angry, emotion-fueled EP, I'd say.
Absolutely, but it definitely feels more, you know, it's that challenging the anger like head on rather than sort of wallowing in it. It definitely feels sort of like a defiant middle finger to whatever it is that's pissing you off, as opposed to oh no, I'm so sad. At least that's the way I took it in anyway. So yeah. But anyways, it's not long until people can listen to these tracks live, because not only have you got a hometown show coming up very soon, but you've also got a London launch party, which sounds very, very exciting.
Yes. Yeah. So one of the biggest things that we like to stick to is we are live performers. At the end of the day, that is what we love to do. We did it very early on forming a band. Like I joined the band and we did our first show as soon as we possibly could. And it's just where our roots are, I think, as musicians. We're trying to be more experimental and learn more behind the scenes. But at the end of the day, we just love to be on stage and we work well together. And hearing an audience reaction and speaking to people at the shows even just adds so much more of a layer to it. I don't think we could do it without the live shows. So Bristol is our hometown, so we kind of converge in the middle there. As I said, we're all from different areas, but that is technically where our hometown is. So we haven't done a hometown show in quite a while now. I can't remember the last time we did one. So it'll be really, really nice to come back and hopefully see a few familiar faces. And London's always one that we hit on our tours. So having kind of a one singular standout show will be really, really fun for us. And again, new venues as well, venues we haven't played before, and showing off the EP in its full. So we are really, really excited.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure a lot of those tracks are going to go down really well, but is there any one particular track off the new EP that you're most excited to play in front of a crowd?
I think they all hit differently is the issue. We've teased a couple of them before, so we've done 1 or 2 songs and we've kind of gauged the reaction and seen what people are thinking. I do think that it's difficult because Who's Gonna Stop Me is very upbeat, so people tend to like that one a lot. But Puppeteer, I find, is probably the one that hits people the hardest. I think I like to say it's quite catchy. I like to think it's relatable as well. It's literally about being pushed to your absolute limit, which I think happens to most people on the regular. And yeah, that's one of our favorites definitely so far. So I definitely think Puppeteer probably hits first.
Nice. And a similar but different question is that here at UDS, we don't just talk about music, we talk about the breadth of pop culture. So movies, video games, everything that we find interesting, we tend to find an excuse to talk about it. So with that in mind, if you could have any of your tracks featured in anything, nothing's off the table, what would be your dream thing to feature one of your tracks in, whether it be a movie, TV show, video game? What would you like to be on the soundtrack of?
I definitely want to be in like some sort of big trailer at some point. I don't quite know what that would be, but there are certain songs that just make those, action-packed films, the ones that everyone's been anticipating, really, really worthwhile watching. A lot of my favorite songs come from soundtracks, and I love soundtracks in general. Whether I'm trying to think of what we'd write in the future rather than one of our songs that exist, because we really are kind of diving into different paths and different things we can try. Something really action packed, or maybe like a Bond film. That would be so cool to write a Bond soundtrack, but like a rock band perspective, like sort of Live and Let Die sort of vibes. That would be amazing.
That would be amazing.
But otherwise, video games as well. I think everyone in the band has their little taste of video games that they enjoy, and maybe some sort of like shooter game or something. I don't know, something action packed where we can stick to our roots but have it featured in something that is just so, I don't know, I like the sense of community in the sense that people can like combine the music they love and the other things they love, a bit like you said, like in these interviews talking about more than just music. Everyone has those things that make them tick, and it can really help build a sense of community with other people, I think. But yeah, a Bond song to probably like break that down. I'd love to write something along those lines, something really iconic.
Oh, that'd be amazing. That'd be amazing. Because I swear one of my favourite and the most underrated Bond themes is the one that Chris Cornell did for Casino Royale. And I think it's about time we had another rock-themed Bond theme. So
I do admit the modern artists that have done the Bond themes, I still think they're incredible. But I think every now and again it's interesting to shake it up. And I think rock, if you give rock bands the opportunity, they do really suit those action-packed, really tense films so well. And yeah, I think that would be such a fun experience. I don't know whether that will happen. I don't even know how many more James Bond films there are going to be. It's been going so long, but maybe one day, or maybe some other really tense movie that they decide to bring out.
Well, I don't know if any film producers are listening to this. Press F down. One of them, please do. You know where to go. But you mentioned that you all have your own taste in video games and everything. What are you playing at the moment?
I am very nostalgic. I go back into games that I used to play when I was younger. So at the moment, it's good old Skyrim, like any of the Elder Scrolls games, even Oblivion, which is the glitchiest game ever, but it is so perfect because of it. So I tend to stick to my nostalgic games, very into like anything open world where you can just, experience the real expanse of the gaming creators' minds. Zelda, Dragon Quest, all those sorts of things. I know the guys, a lot of them like shooter games. Honestly, couldn't tell you much more of their influences. I just know that Call of Duty and things like that they're very into. But yeah, I'm very nostalgic. I also like any games that are storytelling. So good old Sims. I don't know if you've heard that there's a rumor going around there might be a Sims movie coming out, and some people are very confused of what it would be. But if you are a good Sims player like me, who has played it for years, there is a strict lore to that game. It has some of the most outrageous storylines you have ever heard. So if anyone has hours of their life free to just dedicate to delving into a forum, The Sims, I promise you will not be disappointed. From the Grim Reaper to alien abductions, there's so much going on.
All I've got in my head now is that I mentioned, you guys being on the soundtrack or something here. You can record a Simlish version of one of your tracks.
Oh, imagine. Have you seen Katy Perry doing that? It's literally a script. it's not even you just make it up. It is the craziest, like, you say specific words.
Like, it blew my mind because I was like, am I having a stroke? Am I hearing this right? And then I realized, oh no, wait, actually, yeah, she's singing Simlish. This is really weird. It's really weird.
So funny. That's what I mean, is like, I think a lot of I've seen a lot of YouTube gamers and stuff putting down people that play The Sims, but I think it is hilarious because there's so many little tiny Easter eggs and things that go into it. But yeah, that would be so funny. It'll probably take me hours because I can barely get my own lyrics right. So having it in a different language entirely would probably be a terrible idea. But if the offer's there, then
EA,
yes.
if you're listening, yeah, it's also, being a sim is one of the easiest Comic-Con costumes as well, because all you need to do is get a headband with a green diamond on the top.
I've never even thought of that.
Yeah.
I went to Comic-Con for the first time last year because my boyfriend's really into Comic-Con, and I went with him, and I was like, I'd love to dress up, but I don't want to wear wigs, and blue hair gives you very limited options. So I will have to look into what I could do, and a sim seems like a pretty easy way to go. But
there
if
you
there's any
go.
other characters, then I might have to look into them because Halloween costumes as well, very limited.
All you need is a green one for where everything's great, and a red one when you're ready to leave, and then you're
very true.
There you go. You don't even have to say anything. It's all in the head thing. But anyway, it sounds like, it's definitely not going to be a boring year for you guys. But what does the rest of 2024 have in store for you after this release?
So we've got a couple of things that we can't talk about yet, which is always
Fair
annoying
enough.
when you're in a band and you can't go into the details. We definitely want to get back on quite a few live shows. So we always like to do a release, and then while we're writing in the background, we want to keep ourselves busy with the live shows. So probably doing a couple on and off, and then try and hit the summer with a couple of festivals, hopefully. Honestly, some of the most fun gigs we play are festivals, and you just get to hang around for the whole day and meet other people. And then hopefully later this year, we can go on a few more consecutive dates. But that's all I can say about that because we're still keeping a few things under wraps. But live shows definitely is where we want to go.
Amazing. It sounds like a lot to look forward to. But unfortunately, Kira, that is the last serious question I have today. I have one more question, and frankly, I mean, let's be honest, not many of them have been serious. But this is the most important one, and that is we are UDS, which stands for Upside Down Shark. And don't ask me why we settled on that name. We thought of it many, many years ago, and we're in too deep to change it now. But be that as it may, Kira, what is your favorite shark? And it could be real, it could be fictional, so it could be a shark from a movie or a shark from the ocean, I guess. But just what is your favorite shark?
Why did Sharknado come to mind? That is the worst type. Tornado shark is the worst kind of shark. That's the first thing that came to my head.
Sometimes it's the one that comes to your head is the one that's the right answer, though. Like
I like the sharks that look really derpy. Like,
yes.
If we're talking real life sharks, the ones that have literally eyes on the side of their heads, and they just you're like, how are you menacing? Like how in any way?
Like those ones.
Yeah.
There you go. I was one I made earlier. Oh, I love a hammerhead because they double up as a tool as well as a shark, so you get 2 for 1.
Literally.
So,
and you just look at them and you're like, I should be afraid of you. Like, you could probably snap me in half, but what actually are you? How did evolution create that? Like, that's almost my question when you meet a weird animal.
Yeah, that's what I want on when all is said and done, and they're speaking at my funeral. I just want them to say, "How did evolution make that?" And then I'd be happy. But that is some great answers. Sharknado I think is a very great answer, and just derpy sharks in general also a great answer. So the last thing I have to I do have one more question, which is relevant to music, and that is, until people can see you live, where can people find Aniimalia online?
So Aniimalia is usually just under Aniimalia. We just have to explain that we have 2 I's in our name. So it's the most annoying thing to explain, but we are ANII Malia. So you could type us in and we'll usually be the first thing that comes up. I think on Instagram we're Aniimalia_UK. But as long as you get the 2 I's in there, you can probably find us on anything: YouTube, streaming services, all social medias. But if you type in 1 eye, that's where it just comes up with photos of animals. So please just remember the 2 I's if you're going to try and look for us.
So yeah, anyone watching at home, if you're finding pictures of giraffes, probably not onto the right one. But otherwise,
I hope not.
Yes, fingers crossed. But anyway, Kira, it's been an absolute pleasure chatting to you today, and thank you so much for your time.
Oh no, thank you.